Greetings ladies and mental gents, and welcome to this narration of the web series The Survivor Becomes a Dungeon. If you're new to the series, there is a playlist listed in the description. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 21. Zassita Point of View. I'm serious, Shepard. He tried to get us, sent a whole swarm of skeletons and undead once we passed the first two rooms. He's murderous, and is just waiting for us to let our guards down. Isak was frantic. The scene of the swarm of skeletons growing and trying to catch him, and Trisha, was still very fresh and vivid in his mind. Zassita, however, was wholly unsure if it was all as he looked at the mountain and back at Isak. They were speaking somewhat privately in a secluded spot in the camp, while Trisha's bruised shoulder was getting a poultice to reduce the swelling, thanks to Vertisa. You don't understand, Isaac. I don't feel any murderous intent towards us from Bitmori. Are you certain it was him? Zassita pressed, gazing down into the teen's eyes. What else can you remember? Isak looked back up to the shepherd with a frown, but nodded. His brow furrowed as he looked down as he held his chin thoughtfully. Oh, there was intelligence behind these skeletons. We were able to pass through at first without interruptions, but the moment we turned around is when we encountered resistance. He sighed a bit, remembering how close things were. If he were any slower, neither he nor Trisha would have made it out. He thought about what had happened some more, trying to think of anything before suddenly remembering something. Looking back at the shepherd who was watching him patiently, Isak gazed into their eyes and noted the coloration of the diamond pattern on the shepherd's forehead. The eyes! The skeleton had glowing purple eyes! Does that mean it wasn't Bitmori? He already had a sinking feeling growing in his gut at the realization, since he had already riled up the entire camp when he first brought Trisha back. Zassita merely smiles as he gently pats the young guard's shoulder with one hand. It's okay, Isaac. You were scared and nearly died. Anyone could assume the worst after such an encounter. Zassita personally was relieved once they got things cleared up. Go rest up, Isaac. I'm sure that we've got a busy day ahead of us tomorrow, he said softly as he pulled his hand away and stepped aside. Isak lowered his head in response. Yes, thank you, Shepherd, for helping me clear things up. With that, he stepped away and walked off, going to check on Trisha. Zassita sighs a bit as he watches Isak go before heading off to his tent. He had an early dinner today anyway, and he wanted to rest before climbing the mountain again. Bitmori Point of View. So some of my experiments failed today, which I'm somewhat okay with. I'm not just disappointed in the range of my abilities. Using a bit of my unprocessed iron ore, I applied some of the heat to some of it, melting it down and purifying it with my storage space. After shaping some of the melted ore into several palm-sized tiles, I decided to experiment with two of the tiles. At first, I tried to make a dagger with the remaining materials, but even after 3 attempts with the metal, all that came out was a low-grade thin blades that looked like they were cast into shapes rather than hammered and sharpened into form. Honestly, the more I think about it, the more I realize that I do feel frustrated. I was able to make something better out of scrapped lawnmower blade and a table leg, yet I can't put together a little dagger with the power of magic. Anyways, what I ended up doing was making a small chainmail sheet by increasing my focus and reducing the scale of my perception. I began pulling off little wedges of the dagger I melted back into a tile. Afterwards, I started bending these into a shape and chaining them along. With a small number of materials I had committed to this project, I only created a square foot of piece of chainmail. Maybe I'll have the potential of putting out armor. In other news, since the black-furred cub returned to his little escapade with Basti, the cubs have taken to sitting at the entrance of the core room, now actively observing and watching the outside with anticipation and wonder. Perhaps I can have them visit the haven of people down there. It'd be good for them to socialize with others, especially considering that this cave is all they've known. However, looking at Basti, even as she pretends to be asleep, she's worriedly watching the cubs from her sleeping area. With one eye open and her tail occasionally lashes out with anxiety. I don't think she's going to be open to this idea as me. Checking in on Ururu, his growth rate has been the more visibly impressive thing to witness. After scoring a few kills on a knight and a couple of the acolytes a few days ago, as well as his own hunting, he is nearly doubled in size. He's now coiling comfortably before my pedestal, with his now 7-foot-long body. no longer the little 3 to 4 foot noodle of a snake. He was pretty close to his original size, though he certainly feels more impressive than the snake he was before coming into my service. The big guy still likes to chew on his tail though, so I guess he finds comfort in the act. Meanwhile, Captain Jack the Sparrow, my chattering scout bird, has been quite busy, little sparrow. In the 2 days, he's built up a network of 20 other birds to protect the territory I trusted to him. I can't help but wonder if that is a unique trait due to him being a bird or something, the ability to recruit and influence other animals. I can't help but wonder, while I can communicate directly with Jack, he can communicate back and share his senses. I can't seem to outright influence these birds outside of sensing where they are. I can't complain though. They've been brought me a healthy stream of mana outside of what I'm pulling in from the air. That in turn has kept me busy with my experiments, so I don't get too bored just waiting around. Still, I can't help but wonder if Basti and Ururu can also recruit animals into my service. If they can't, then fair enough. But if they can, do they not feel the need to, perhaps? Maybe I'll bring it up in the morning. Watching the cubs for a while longer, they in turn sat up for a bit more at the entrance, just watching the sunset. I can't help but have the smile on my metaphorical face as they dozed off in a small pile at the door, Basti getting up at that point to bring them to bed. The next morning. Oh, it looks like I've got a visitor. Zassita seems to have made the trek up the mountain first thing in the morning and is now patiently waiting outside by the entrance to the atrium. Come in, Zassita. What brings you to me this morning? The copper-scaled lizardkin ducks down through the entryway, standing tall once inside before sitting on his knees before my pedestal. Hitmori, I bring grave tidings. There seems to be an infestation of undead beneath your mountain. Where they came from, we do not know, but they were actively malicious and tried to kill 2 of our people when they were in the mine for ore. Well then, that's a hell of a good morning for you. What sort of undead are we talking about? Are they like my zombies? Zassita had to think about that for a moment before shaking his head. No, Vidmori, if I'm being honest, your undead are almost entirely unique compared to what we know. These undead are composed of ancient corpses and giant mishmash collection of skeletons. Skeletons? A moving skeleton sounds much more an odd concept. I mean, yeah, I guess Halloween had the right idea regarding spooky monsters. I see, well, I'll have one of my beasts check it out. Thank you for letting me know. You can go now. Zassita nods in understanding and is about to leave, but then he stops as he gets down on one knee this time. Vitmori, please forgive my greed, but can I ask something of you? Sure, what's up? I ask and send my attention out somewhere else. Good thing I noticed he wasn't leaving yet. Zassita hesitated, his tongue passing over his teeth thoughtfully. You granted me this powerful and perfect body, yet I can do nothing with it. If you will forgive me, I know from glimpses of memories that you have unintentionally shared with me that you were a formidable and great warrior from the world you came from. Can you teach me to be a fighter like yourself? Huh. I didn't even realize I shared stuff with him. Yikes. I hope I haven't been giving him nightmares. I suppose I can help. Sure, I'll help you. Head down the mountain and I'll guide you to a cave part of the way down. I have someone for you to meet. At that, Zassita couldn't help but grin as he hopped up. Thank you, Great One. I am honored by your generosity. At that, he hurried out. Shit, instead of having skeletons in my closet, now I've got a ton in my basement. End of chapter. I would quickly like to thank the T5 channel members and Patreons. Casper Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Barky, Lord Azrekahl, It's Difficult to Pronounce, Dragzoon W.R.E, Holly's Sister, Arcadian. Thank you very much.